Right, today we're going to make Chelsea buns, which is a British sweet bread product. And we're going to make it to revise the ingredients in bread making and also to make this typical British product. So you will need a tin with a deep side. This is about the right size, but you could use half a roasting tin at home. We need to lightly grease our tin, or you can use a round cake tin. A large round cake tin is just as good as well. Okay, so we've greased our tin, we've put our oven on at gas mark 7, and now we're going to make our dough. So we need to sieve our flour. Again, it is bread flour, and if you remember that bread flour, strong flour, contains a certain amount of protein to make the gluten, and the two proteins in the flour are gliadin and glutenin, and when combined with liquid they form gluten, which makes your dough stretchy so it can trap the carbon dioxide bubbles the yeast produces. So we need a teaspoon of salt. Now if you're using the school measuring spoons, there are the large, so half a teaspoon of salt is needed. Now that salt is there to help develop the gluten. So even though it's a sweet product, it's got salt in it to help develop the gluten. We're then going to add our yeast, 1 sachet of yeast, which is 7 grams. This is fast action yeast. If you're at home, you don't necessarily have to use fast action yeast. It will just take a lot longer to rise. So 1 sachet of fast action yeast, and to that we're going to add some sugar, and the sugar will act as food for the yeast as well as the flour. So 1 tablespoon, good tablespoon of sugar is what we need. Give that a mix around. And then we're going to add some liquid. Now the liquid you're using is milk, but we know that yeast needs 4 things to rise. It needs food, which it gets from the flour and the sugar. It needs moisture, which it's going to get from the milk, but it also needs warmth. So we're going to heat our milk up slightly. Now you can heat it up in the microwave if you want. Is that on? No. The gas has gone off, so that's why it won't work. So we'll put the gas back on, and I'm going to heat it up in the microwave. So I want hand hot, I want it warm. I don't want it boiling, it will kill the yeast. So I'm going to microwave power it for 30 seconds and then test it. And I'm going to swap to a palette knife. I prefer to mix with a palette knife. You may use a spoon, a wooden spoon, whatever you want to make my dough. So 30 seconds, and I've got hand hot milk. So I'm going to mix this in with my yeast and my sugar, all of it, to make a soft but slightly sticky dough. all that flour into my dough. And then I'm going to tip it out on the floured work surface. So if you remember when we made bread rolls and pizza in year 8, we had to knead the dough to develop the gluten to make it stretchy. So as you're doing it at home, you have plenty of time to knead your dough for 10 minutes. So how do you knead? You fold, you push, you turn. You fold, you push, you turn. Now you can either use the palm of your hand, or you can use the your fingers, whichever way. And you're going to knead it until it's nice and smooth, and when you press your hand on it, it will gently bounce back. Not stick your hand in, but just gently press it on. It will gently bounce back. Now if you feel that it's getting a little bit sticky, then you can add a little bit more flour. But make sure you knead it strongly. It's no good just doing it like turning it round lightly like this. That doesn't knead it at all. You've got to fold, push, turn, fold, push, turn, fold, push, turn, until you've got it nice and smooth, which will take you about 10 minutes. Now I'm not going to do it for 10 minutes because I haven't got time in the time of this video, and I want to show you how to shape it. So I'm only going to literally do it for a few minutes, but it will be benefit from having a good 10 minutes kneading. It would benefit it. It wants to be nice and smooth. So once you've kneaded it for 10 minutes, flour your work surface. Now you might want to use a ruler here to get it the perfect shape. And it says you need to roll it out 25 centimetres square. So 25 centimetres square is that long. So get it a square shape to start off with. Okay, then get your rolling pin out, flour your rolling pin, and roll it square. Roll it this way and then this way. Don't keep turning it round, just roll it 2 ways to get it square. It will stretch back, the gluten is working, so you need to be very firm with it. If it's stretching out of shape, just pull it into shape and make it as square as you possibly can. Okay, let's see what that is. See if it's 25. No, a little bit longer that way. It's perfect that way, so we need to roll it a little bit more this way. Okay. So, once you've got it to the desired size, you're then going to melt your butter. So again, you can either melt it in a saucepan or you can melt it in a bowl. And you need 50 grams of butter or margarine. So 50 grams of butter or margarine. I think that's been melted out for me. Yeah, melted out for me. And that I'm going to put in the microwave again, 30 seconds on high. To melt it and start. And I'm going to fill my Chelsea buns with the same as the recipe, with currants, sugar and melted butter. You can use chocolate chips, you can use glacé cherries, you can use any dried fruit that you wish. You can even make this savoury when there would be pizza rolls by using tomato puree and cheese. But for Chelsea buns, they're dried fruit. So, our butter will carry on melting because of the microwave. Now you need to leave yourself a cuff, which you're not going to put anything on, because you're going to put some water on that, okay? If you haven't got a pastry brush, use a spoon. And you're going to put half your butter on the rest of the dough, as much as it will take. You're then going to sprinkle it with sugar. All over except for that margin you've left at the one side, which you're going to put some water on. So sprinkle it with sugar. You can use brown sugar, you can use granulated caster, icing, it really doesn't matter. But for traditional Chelsea buns, it's caster sugar. And then we're going to sprinkle it with our dried fruit. And as I said, you can use chocolate chips, you can use marshmallows, although they will burn in the oven. You can use different dried fruit, you can use glacé cherries, etc, etc. Make sure they're spread out right to the edges as well, otherwise the one on the edge won't have much fruit in it. And you're good to go with the rest of the butter, because the sugar will soak up the rest of the butter and you need that moisture. You want to use all the butter, not just a bit of it. Okay, so that's all your butter on. Right, now you need some water. And I've got butter on my pastry brush, so I'm just going to use my fingers. And you're going to put some water on the edge that you have left, the margin you have left. You are then going to roll up from the side nearest you until you land on that bit with water on it, okay? Now, you're going to cut this into 9. Now you can measure it if you want to be accurate, or you can estimate. So you need a sharp knife. Oh, need to get a sharp knife. And the best way to estimate for 9 is first of all to estimate into 3. Then each 3 you can estimate 3, and you want them as even as you can get them. And estimating is a skill, and that should be 9, not 8, 9. So now you're going to put the end, which is untidy, on the bottom. And then it's rather like tear and share bread. You cut it and you squash them together. So 3 and 3 and 3. Again with your end one, you're putting the untidy end to the bottom. And then you're going to squash those all together, and you're going to leave those to rise until they fill the whole of the tin. double the size. So you're going to leave them on top of your cooker, which should be nice and warm, to rise for 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes, until they double in size. Okay? So this is what I mean when they should double the size and fill your container. Once they're this size, you can put them in the oven, and they go in the oven for 15 to 20 minutes. The way you tell whether they're cooked is you will tap, they will be golden brown, you will tap them and they will sound hollow, okay? And once you've cooked them, you're going to get them out of the oven, and the traditional Chelsea buns have a glazing of syrup on them. You put that, squirt that syrup on while they're hot, and then let them cool. You can, of course, glaze them with glacé icing if you wish. Okay, and those are traditional Chelsea buns.